Hello guys, welcome to another episode of the Weekly Feedback. I'm your host Caveman PRDR, and today we celebrate the drop of Lightfall. I know there are a lot of negative reviews on Steam. I think personally it's a little bit too early to drop a negative review on it. I've played the campaign, so I'm going to try to spoil as little bit as possible because I know we're still first weekend, so I'll try to keep things as spoiler free as possible. I will be looking over things like TWABs and such, so I'll be looking at some Bungie help things as well. So just in case if there are any potential spoilers later on, I know I'm going to be talking about the upcoming raid that's going to be released, the name of it and the date. If you don't want any of that spoiled for you, recommend not watching. Let's see, what other topics am I going to talk about? I will be talking about the Bungie help thread where they usually do where they post known issues on a Twitter thread. I will be talking about that. So if you don't want that spoiled for you, recommend just closing. Um, Talking about the seasonal artifact. What else? And a certain new weapon has been disabled. Talk about that, and we'll obviously talk about the this week at Bungie, the post Lightfall release TWAB. We'll be talking about it as well. That will definitely most likely have spoilers in it, so I'll try to keep things as spoiler free as I can while still talking about the topics, but there may be images and stuff like for seasonal armor stuff if you don't want to see it until you get the chance to play. Recommend closing. Without further ado, that's going to be the last warning. Now we're going to go on ahead. Destiny 2 update 7.0.0.1. I'll go over some of the quick things. Crucible not swap is being added as of this season for exotic weapon for exotic armors. Comp division, they are reducing revive delay time and reducing respawn timers. So they're making it faster respawns. Vanguard Ops is getting some looks. Vanguard Ops playlist has increased in difficulty. Players can no longer level beyond enemy combatants. Difficulty options: Hero, Legend, and Master have been reworked to greater challenge to accommodate new modifiers. These new modifiers are Threat, they are Overcharged weapons, and they are Surges. So, Surges is what you'll need to match in order for completions like Solar Strand, whatever. Solar Strand Surge. Overcharged weapons is the kind of weapons in the game that will have an increased effectiveness in that activity. Threats are what does more damage to you. So you can build against the threat using resistance mods on your chest piece. Raids and dungeons, armor pieces from Master Grasp, Duality, and Spire drop with higher stats. Excellent. A lot of UI changes: Lightfall title screen, Guardian ranks, orbit screen, triumphs to journey tab. So all the triumphs are being reworked into the journey tab. There's going to be a lot of changes in there, including where you will find the journey tab is where you go to look at the Guardian ranks feature. Seals and titles. Commendations can be sent and received near the end of most activities. Post-game Carnage report, update the PGCR to complement the new commendations feature and updated some features. So first screen is commendations, then you can tab over and look at the post-game Carnage report. There's a ritual ranks tooltips. There will be tracking. More items can be tracked at a time. Up to 3 Guardian ranked objectives and up to 6 non-Guardian ranked objectives can be tracked. Up to a total of 9 things, I believe. Some updates to the nav mode. Guardian ranks auto tracking is enabled by default. Some things in collections have been moved, including lore, weapon patterns and catalysts, medals, and stat trackers. And then they also increased the number of recently discovered items. Waypoints are now depicted by circles on screen. Guardian ranks replace the season pass level for Guardians. So, say I'm Guardian rank 6, you'll see me as Guardian rank 6 instead of whatever I am on the season pass. There will be records you can see. Ritual vendors now have tooltips to help describe the core ritual and reputation, as well as explaining some of the less visible features. Quality of life, updates and fixes, character screen. Remove the currency display from the character screen and moved over to the next screen. Or it's tabbed over, you'll see it. Armor energy types have been deprecated. Try to go over some of these things quickly because we've covered them before. Armor mods were previously based on weapon archetype, are now based on weapon damage type. So let's say you really like using an exotic in the kinetic slot, and then you really like doubling down on funnel web and Taipan. You can put on weapon mods that benefit both the Taipan and the funnel web because they're void. So they'll add weapon damage type mods instead. Armor mod costs have been reduced generally across the board. For the most part, this is true. Charged with light and elemental will, armor mods have been changed into an armor charge type system. So basically, what you're wanting to do with builds from now on is just try to make orbs of power, and then whenever you pick up orbs of power, you create armor charges, and your build is pretty much based on or decided how you want to spend those armor charges. Warmind cells have been deprecated, rest in peace. Seasonal artifact is going to be passive now. You can unlock 12 total perks out of the ones that are available. So if you want to go back and get a different one, you'll have to reset it, which there currently is a glitch for right now. Resetting the artifact is supposed to be free. However, at this current time, there is a cost to it, and they are working on a fix. So it's one of our known issues I wanted to talk about. Might as well bring it up while we're here. Artifice armor has its bonus sock converted into a socket that allows you to increase any one stat of that armor piece by 3 stats. So this is actually excellent because it does not cost you anything on your armor piece. As someone who farmed for Artifice armor and is finally using it, it's very cool. Really like that change. Heart of Inmost light nerfs are here. Carefree Sting nerf is here. Crafting changes, resonant elements have been removed. So once you get a red border, you can automatically take the red border out of it. You don't have to go in and deep sight resonant. You don't have to attune it. You can just reach in for the pattern as soon as you get the weapon. Grab it out, toss the weapon if you want, keep the weapon if you want. Red reticle enabled on PC. Or legendary linear fusion nerf in. Machine gun buff in. Heavy GL buff in. Shoddy buffs in. Kinetic weapons buffs in. Then some changes to exotics. I'm not going to go over every single one. A lot of these are based on elemental affinities and verbiage with 3.0 for Light 3.0. Perks have been changed to work with Strand. Now that Strand is here. A lot of abilities being changed, like we've talked about before. A lot of the roaming supers being increased in orb generation from 5 to 7. A lot of one-off supers being decreased from 7 to 5. Not all of them, just some of these across the board. I'll make sure to post this in the link down below. One very important thing for Warlocks, Aspects Heat rises. So whenever you have heat rises activated, it gives you a plus total 70 effectiveness. This is before. Now, when you have heat rises active, you get now when you have heat rises just built into your kit, you get plus 20 passively, and then whenever you actually activate heat rises, you get an additional 50. So, basically, this is a good quality of life change for heat rises and people who use heat rises in PvP in general. That's 20 free airborne effectiveness you get without having to equip heat rises, or without having it active, without having heat rises active. You get a passive plus 20. When you activate heat rises, you get an additional 50, so that makes it add back up to the 70 you had before. So very good change. And then they also talk about rebalancing a lot of the light abilities down below, reducing their cooldowns. In Stasis as well, Stasis Duskfield Grenade has been increased by what seems to be almost a third. So that'll be interesting to note. Because I, in particular, really like using Duskfield Grenades on Hunter. They talk about the reworkings of some of the fragments for Arc, Solar, and Void, reworking some existing fragments and adding new ones as well. Some of these are very good, by the way. Ember of Resolve is very good. Ember of Mercy is very good. Echo of Vigilance is probably very good. I haven't tried it yet. And they're talking about, right here, they're talking about some of the subclass verbiage and how it works with champion types. I'm not going to go over every single one of these because there's a lot to go over. Power and Progression, weekly powerful rewards have been removed from the Throne World and added to Neomuna. Umbrals are being removed, and now there will only be seasonal. There will be seasonal engrams. There will no longer be umbral engrams. That'll be it for 7.0.0.1. For the quick notes that I wanted to talk about, I will leave a link to this down below. We'll talk about some of the Destiny 2. We'll talk about some of the Destiny 2 posts and talk about some posts on Twitter and talk about Bungie Hope as well. Firstly, the raid Root of Nightmares raid opens on March 10th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Contest mode will be enabled for 48 hours. So, good luck to those of you who are participating in day one. I'm not. Go over to the Bungie Help thread, which includes a Solo Legend Lost Sector. Guardian rank objective can be completed with both Master and Legendary Lost Sectors. Veteran players starting Lightfall at Guardian rank 6 will not receive Vanguard Lore Books 1 through 6 and will only receive Vanguard Lore Books 7. Guardian ranks seasonal reset text is incorrect. Guardian rank 7 through 11 are advanced ranks, and players at these ranks will reset to rank 6 at the end of the season. Ascendant Scepter mods, Triumph from Season of Defiance cannot be completed. Swarmer's exotic legs does not create threadlings when a tangle is thrown if a player has the Strand Shackle Grenade equipped. The Shielded Foes activity modifier is showing a placeholder icon. Quicksilver Storm exotic auto trace and Touch of Malik exotic have lost their 40% damage increase against red bar enemies. And they also have their link to the Bungie Help forums below for any other issues. They did have to disable the Winterbite exotic glaive. This is a quest line you can get after the end of the campaign. Yes, it's a stasis exotic glaive, dealing more damage than intended. And I actually didn't know where the damage was at first, where it was doing more than intended, but evidently someone has posted a link of a Twitter video where, well, you see what it's doing to the final boss of the Prophecy Dungeon here. I think this kind of speaks for itself, right? They've got volatile rounds, even though it's not, volatile rounds isn't what's working with the glaive here. He's sitting on a well of radiance, and obviously he's doing. Now we'll go over to This Week at Bungie. Go over some things real quick. Strand updates incoming. Some more players complete Lightfall campaign and get their hands on Strand. We've heard initial and constructive feedback. As with new subclass in Destiny 2, we want to make sure Strand feels great in players' hands once they've realized the power and evolution doesn't stop. So at first, when Strand was introduced to us, we had a limited number of fragments, but as of Thursday, they decided that later on, they would release all the fragments to us. So, for everyone that has Strand unlocked, after you beat the campaign, you will have access to purchasing the fragments for the Strand meditations. And they're going to be keeping an eye on how the fragments perform before Root of Nightmares opens on March 10th. Story's just begun, so they talk about questions being left unanswered, community's questions being left unanswered at the end of the Lightfall campaign, Season of Defiance, and the following seasonal storylines will be connecting back to Lightfall campaign. So basically this part right here kind of explains that the upcoming seasons are going to fill in the blanks a little bit about what people are complaining about for Lightfall as far as the questions they had and trying to figure out some of the new ideas and things that have been introduced and not really having been gone into full detail about what certain things are. I think what they're trying to say is that they are going to answer these questions in the upcoming seasons for what's happening between the events of Lightfall and the final shape. So I'm personally not going to overreact and say, oh, they've sold us short, when most certainly they have not. So, well, yeah. We're going to keep on going forward. Pyramids are alive with the sound of music. They talk about the dev insights with the music. Music is primo, by the way, for the campaign. And then there's also a dev blog and dev trailer regarding the villains of the story being Callus and the Witness. And the crossover with Among Us, specifically having Destiny 2 themed items and people in Among Us. There's Osiris and Saint 14, Shax, Keitel, and just it looks like it's a fun little animation inside the Among Us game. So anybody that plays Among Us, cool little items to go after. Don't be late, save the date. So they talk about the raid date down here, and then they talk about the upcoming rotations for the Nightfalls, when Grandmasters opens, the weeks that Trials will be available, the weeks that Iron Banner will be available, and when Guardian Games will be available for us. Below that is the player report. Hypernet Current Strike is not progressing Step 13 in the Lightfall campaign if players completed the strike for the first time in a fire team before reaching this quest step. So, do not do Hypernet Current Strike before you beat the campaign. Disorienting Blow is disabled on Arc Hunter. Jotun is disabled in Crucible. And that there were also issues with Lightfall Xbox pre-orders. And that's pretty much really all I have for us this week. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one. And enjoy Lightfall. Smile.